So identity X automatically by default has its own beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors. You literally have a different subconscious mind depending on which identity you're holding. It's all an inner shift. It's all a mental shift away. There's no hard work involved. I want you to remove this concept of hard work. That is why you feel that shift on the spot sometimes. And I spoke about that in a video a few weeks ago about how one of my clients, just by starting on the same day with the coaching plan that I gave her, all I did was tell her, explain this stuff to her, and I gave her a set of affirmations. On the same day, she manifested a $20 million opportunity. She went from barely making $6,000 the full year, having $50,000 in credit card debt, barely made any sales in her real estate business. On the same day, she received an opportunity for $20 million. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Munashable and I am a manifestation and soul realignment coach. My channel is geared towards helping you become your highest potential so that you can create and live the extraordinary life that is your birthright. In today's video, I'll be talking about how to use the Trinity approach to instantly shift states. But before we get started, just a quick reminder that I offer both email and video coaching. So if you need help in manifesting any of your desires or in releasing any of your blocks, you definitely want to check out all my coaching options. They are in the description below. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon if you'd like to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. So today's video is going back to the way I've posted some videos in the past, which is a presentation view. I thought that this video in specific will be really valuable being in this presentation mode because we are going to be sharing some things in a visual format, and I think sometimes that message is delivered even better when you have that visual in front of you. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I talk about two different approaches to manifesting. One is through the concept of the I am, and the other is through mind. But technically, all manifesting is the same. We're doing it always through the I am. When you understand this concept a little bit more, and this concept of parallel realities, how it's working, I think you will really get it. So when we're talking about physical reality, our experience of physical reality is nothing more than a series of individual snapshots that we are experiencing in every single moment. We perceive movement, but in actuality, it's just a series of individual snapshots. It's like this every moment, we are shifting, and every moment is a snapshot. It is very much like a movie roll. If you look at this little animation, you'll see that every page has just a snapshot, and when you're going through the pages, you're giving the illusion of animation, which is precisely literally spot on how our physical reality is actually working. We don't perceive it as a series of snapshots because it's just so instantaneous that we don't perceive that it's a series of still images. We're shifting. Every page is a moment reflecting our inner state in that very moment. It's in every single moment. Our inner state or our identity is always in any given moment a reflection of our assumptions as well as our focus and attention in that moment. What are we assuming and what are we putting our focus and attention on? So you are literally shifting realities in every single moment by default. Even if you're thinking the same exact thought, you're still shifting. Even if you're holding the same state, you're still shifting in every moment, because it's like that movie role, which I just showed you. And every little page of that small book that I just showed you is a reflection of our state in that very moment, which means that we have the opportunity to change in every single moment. You can shift that fast. It is that easy and that fast. So in every moment you are choosing and have the opportunity to choose a more preferred identity and then mirror back a completely new reality. What happens when you choose an identity? Because you're choosing that identity in every moment through the assumptions you're making, as well as what you're focusing on, what you're choosing to focus on. When you choose an identity, you are activating the corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions that go with that identity. If you recall, I have my little notebook, which I always show you, with the two identities. It is exactly that. Every identity has its corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions. And every identity has that corresponding inner beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors. So if you look at this diagram, you'll see the two identities, identity X and then identity Y. Identity X is that of not having your desire. You're identified with not having your desire. You're identified as that person who is not loved, chosen, pursued, and committed to. You're identified as that person who has all those health struggles. You're identified as that person who is struggling, does not have money, has a lot of debt. So that's the identity, right? You don't have the desire. The desire is wanting the opposite of that. So identity X automatically by default has its own beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors. Your actions and behaviors naturally reflect the identity that you are choosing, right? You're choosing that. So this is a reflection of your inner state, and then the outer reality is then your physical 3D reality. It's a mirror. It's an exact mirror of what's going on internally. The thing is, you always have the opportunity to choose the other identity. You always have the opportunity to assume that new identity. And that identity has its own new set of corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors. They're completely different than the identity of the one who does not have. You can think of it this way. You literally have a different subconscious mind depending on which identity you're holding. That is why you literally feel that shift on the spot sometimes. And I spoke about that in a video a few weeks ago about how one of my clients, just by starting on the same day with the coaching plan that I gave her, all I did was tell her, explain this stuff to her, and I gave her a set of affirmations. On the same day, she manifested a $20 million opportunity. She went from barely making $6,000 the full year, having $50,000 in credit card debt, barely made any sales in her real estate business. On the same day, she received an opportunity for $20 million. On the same day, she did not do a single thing. She told me, I felt myself shift. I felt myself shift. This is what we mean when we say you have felt the shift. This is why. Because automatically, if we go back to that screen of the identities, you literally have different beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions. So you're feeling that because your beliefs and thoughts are reflecting that identity. So this means you literally can shift instantly. Always, always. We do the techniques, we do the affirmations, we do it all because we're trying to practice just being more and more there. But you know what? You don't even need to do that. You know, sometimes I sense that people have a lot of resistance around feeling like it's hard work. It's not hard work. And I'm going to be saying this more and more and more and more because you literally can shift instantly. Just like my client shifted on the spot and she manifested that $20 million deal on the same day versus $6,000 in commissions the previous year. So can you see how this is all happening? It's all an inner shift. It's all a mental shift away. There's no hard work involved. I want you to remove this concept of hard work. Yes, the affirmations and the visualizations are meant to fuel what you want, but they're not supposed to make you feel like you're going upstream. The reason why you feel like sometimes you're going upstream with the affirmations is because you are in identity X and heavily identified with that. You're opposing the whole day. You're choosing that identity. This is when we're saying you're opposing your desire all day because you're choosing that identity, and to affirm from there feels impossible. It feels like you're going upstream. But I will tell you how to shift right away. I will share that with you in this video because it can be done right away. But this is why sometimes these techniques feel super difficult, because you can't sometimes flip from that perspective. Sometimes you can. Sometimes when you've had a lot of momentum built, you find it difficult. But it can be done very quickly. It doesn't have to take a long time. So going back, you literally can shift instantly. How do you do that? We do it through the Trinity. What is Trinity? The Trinity is something I heard a few years ago mentioned by Bashar. When one consciousness splits into the polarity, because in physical reality we have to experience polarity, it doesn't actually split into two, it splits into three, the Trinity. The concept of Trinity, as it's mentioned, it's the polarity plus the center point of neutrality and balance. It's like a triangle. In order to experience physical reality, in order for one consciousness to experience physical reality through us, because that's what's really happening, we have one consciousness that splits into individuated souls, which then come into physical form with the concept of polarity. It's for the purpose of experiencing itself. I cannot know what love is unless I know what the opposite of not having love means, what fear is. Not experiencing it necessarily, but being aware of it. You don't necessarily have to be experiencing the polarity, but sometimes you realize you have a new desire and you notice that you don't have it, right? So you're aware of the concept of not having. That's the concept of polarity. It's how we can experience physical reality, how one consciousness can experience physical reality through us, through our individual souls, which are created in the likeness of one consciousness, the exact same thing. And so when we come into polarity, we have desire, which is equivalent to love, don't have desire, which is equivalent to fear. They're two opposite ends of the spectrum. And actually, they're not too far away. You just need to alternate between them. Identity X does not have the desire. Identity Y has the desire. They're both things that you can choose and experience. The whole reason Identity X even exists is for you to realize that you want Identity Y. This is how it is, right? It's part of expansion. It's part of us knowing that there's something else that we want. And so when you're overly identified with Identity X, it may seem very hard to flip to Y. This is because of the fact that these beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors are all active because they are reflective of identity X. It's your inner state. This is what you're experiencing. You find it hard. You find it hard to flip in that moment. You're overly identified. That's when you're overly identified. When you're not overly identified, you can flip right away. So this is where the Trinity comes in. The Trinity is the point of neutrality. It's the neutral central place from which you can choose again. So as you can see here, rather than going from X to Y on a horizontal line, you actually will move into that neutral space at the top, and then you can move back down to identity Y. And of course here when I say up and down, it's not an actual up and down. It's about you stepping into that neutral central place from which you can choose again. It's a pause and reboot. It's a space where you become aware of the identity you are choosing. And of course, you're activating by default all the beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions that go with it. So when you're saying, I have always been not chosen, not loved, not prioritized by the people that I desire, you're activating all those beliefs that go with it. You're literally activating the subconscious mind of that person. And what's happening is, from that space, it's hard for you to choose the other option because you're so identified with it. That's why we want to reboot, pause and reboot. So it's a space where you become aware of the identity you are choosing. You step back and you notice, I am choosing that identity. That is why I'm finding it hard. I'm finding it hard because all the corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions have been activated because I am choosing that identity. So in order to pause and reboot, you're tapping into the I am state of conscious awareness and neutrality. That is what you are doing when you're taking note of what's happening and why it seems to feel very hard. When you do that, you're pausing. And then when you pause and reboot, then you are able to choose again. It's like you're taking off one helmet and putting on another. It's like taking off a pair of glasses, putting on another. And when you pause and reboot, you take them off, put back the other ones. You can't put on two pairs of glasses at the same time. Doesn't work. You cannot put on two helmets at the same time. Does not work. You have to remove one and put on the other. And that is what the pause and reboot is. When you do that, then you are able to activate that other identity along with all its corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions. You will literally be able to feel the shift. You'll feel it in two ways. You will find you have no opposing thoughts because you've activated the inner state and subconscious of the new state, and you will just feel aligned with your desire. So now comes the question, how do you pause and reboot? Here are two quick and practical ways for you to do that. You know, in the past, they used to say just meditate and meditate for hours and, do all that. In my approach, it's a very, very simple approach that I will show you here. Of course, you can meditate for hours if you enjoy doing that, if you feel called to do that. But there is no hard work involved in order to pause and reboot and then shift. That's how you do it. You pause, reboot, and then shift. The first way is you take 3 deep breaths by inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And you do so very slowly. You inhale to the count of 3, you hold it to the count of 3, and then you exhale to the count of 3. Do that 3 times. Do that 3 times. When you do this, you find yourself, you've stepped out of any identity, which is the neutral place. That's the neutral place from which you can choose. Exercise 2 is very similar You just count down slowly from 20 to 0. It can be more if you're feeling super triggered, maybe from 50 to 0, and you only focus on the numbers going down until you hit 0. If you're more triggered, you're more bothered, start at a higher number. But you will notice right away that you are stepping away and feeling more neutral. Both ways will help you disconnect from the undesired reality. From that point, you can easily activate your desired identity. You'll also find it easier to affirm or visualize when you activate that desired identity, because all the techniques are really doing are reinforcing that identity. So when you have been able to stop being or assuming the identity of the woman who is rejected, not loved, chosen, and pursued, and you reboot, you do the 3 breath technique to go into that neutral space, and you say, okay, now I am choosing to be that woman who is loved, chosen, and pursued and committed to, and who is a dream come true for any partner she desires. By choosing that, you're able to activate the corresponding beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions. And from that space, any technique that you do, affirmations are only going to create more momentum. You're going to feel that they are simply reinforcing what you have already chosen and assumed. And it starts to feel much easier. But of course, remember, techniques are never really a must as long as you become aware of what you're assuming and focusing on in every moment. And by pausing, rebooting, and then choosing again. You'll see results in literally 1 to 2 days, sometimes within hours as well. If you keep remaining conscious of that and using that inner state, that inner feeling within, you'll know which identity you've activated. And when you feel that and use these exercises as many times as needed to keep going back, I promise you within 1 to 2 days, you're going to start seeing the shifts. If not within a few hours, just like my client who manifested the $20 million deal on the same day. It was a few hours later. Everything is possible. It's not hard. Just remember that sometimes we are the ones who are overcomplicating things. It's not hard. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please like, comment, and share. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.